always asked like really intense tech questions, like during every single like whatchamacallit class thing. You always had
Yeah.
like really in-depth questions that were like either technical or like very specific. It was
Interesting.
awesome.
Oh,
I
good.
was
And
like,
then
this guy asked a
I like
lot
you
of good
clarify that
questions.
with what's that?
You asked a lot of really good questions, and I was like, this guy is like intense and involved and like
Yeah.
very actively participating.
I like how you qualified that at the end with it being a positive, because that could,
It's a
I
positive.
definitely, it at my worst at workshops, I can derail things because I tend to like have questions about everything and I want to like
Mm,
talk. Um,
yeah.
but I do think that especially early on in most workshops, people are really hesitant to speak from the audience. And when the environment is such that it's encouraged, I find that like I'm a pretty good icebreaker to kind of bring people out of like, look at this fancy person on the stage. I'm not supposed to talk. They're talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You're definitely good at that
I
for
appreciate that.
sure.
So for those that don't know, well, actually, we didn't go around. That's Jody. Hannah's gone.
I'm here. I had to
Well,
get.
I mean, your face is gone. It's fine.
I'm
Welcome
here.
back. I know we kind of do this every time, but hey, Hannah, who are you?
I'm Hannah. I'm starting the process of owning my own photography business. It's Handgun Pics. I live in Traverse City. I like to photograph people, and I have 6 fish. No, I just set up another fish tank. So I have 7 fish tanks. It's a little one. It's like this big. It has a tiny little puffer fish in it. But I'm a crazy fish lady. And so in quarantine, because I'm all alone, I've been taking pictures of my fish.
Oh, cool.
Amazing.
So I'd like to take pictures of people more though, but that's okay. I have no one to take pictures of right now, so.
I love that. Oh, gotta mute my notifications.
That's a good idea.
Yep. Okay, Hunter, you want to talk or no?
Hi. My name's Hunter. I live in Muskegon, Michigan. So, yeah. I run Anderson Photography
Katie, that's how we talk about
Services.
Michigan, by the way.
I know this from the people
And,
I know from Michigan. It's always the hand.
Yep.
I run Anderson Photography Services. I photograph pretty much anything that I feel like. And
Cool.
Yeah. I'm also Michael's technical department, so
Yeah, basically.
Nice.
I do that as well.
Which is, I guess that's saying a lot, because I do consider myself a pretty deep dive nerd, and Hunter has saved my butt a couple of times already. When everybody was like Zoom bombing and like killing the stuff, he was the first one to be like, lock this down, make sure there are passwords on things. Even though I'm still like broadcasting the password to everybody, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Sydney, who just came in, were you the last? No, you weren't the last one. You're the one before?
No, it was Tuesday.
Tuesday. Sydney talked about gifts and kind of, not gifts, we'll call them GIFs right now because it's easier. Talking about, integrating those into your business model, the technology of it, and also
cool.
how to kind of differentiate using GIFs. I hate saying it that way, but I don't want it to sound like you're gifting your clients things. So there's that. And then the grand reveal, Katy, who are you?
I'm Katy, Katy Weaver. I am a Portland wedding photographer. I also shoot portraits, and yeah, I guess I work mostly out of Portland, but I've also done a fair number of like international and stuff around the country, and mostly just lots of people, preferably couples and weddings. But I do some seniors too every now and then. And yeah, I'm not introducing myself very well today, apparently.
No, this is great. I will. The only correction I will lay on you, because of where a lot of our people are based, is Portland, Oregon, because there is a Portland, Michigan. There's a Portland, Maine, but nobody here. I don't think we know anybody from Maine, so that's right out.
Portland, Oregon.
And Katy and I met at. I've actually talked about this workshop a lot because I don't think it was like most people's like most incredible workshop ever, but it was my first introduction to like photo education as a whole. We met at Heck Yeah Photo Camp in Joshua Tree, or I guess outside of Joshua Tree, Southern California. And that was like what really primed me to kind of completely change my business model and change, like realizing that there were photographers from all over the country, all over the world who were doing like completely different things, not stuck with like old school business models, and really kind of creating the work that they wanted to, as opposed to creating just either what was profitable or what the people in their community was creating. So for whatever reason, the people that I met there, I met some like really great, really like kind people that I've really kept in touch with. I think just because it was my absolute first one, I have like an affinity for those people for some reason. And you were a very kind person really early on.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I feel like along those lines, like it wasn't my first workshop that I was at, but it was like the biggest first one that I was at. And like I came out of that experience with like more like lifelong friends I thought like possible. Like I found like my like one of my best friends in Portland who I lived with for 3 years. She recently moved out, but it's fine. Like I met her through that workshop, just like randomly in the cafeteria. Like my best friend from South Africa, who I like literally consider like a sister, I met at that workshop. Like so many people. It was like crazy. I can't believe like how like it literally was like this 1 week in January 2016, I think, that just like changed
It was
my
so
life
long
forever.
ago. It feels like it was so long ago. And
so
I still get notifications of like, you know, Facebook reminders like on this day 140 years ago you were at this workshop, and I'm like, that was that long ago? Not
but I think it's like testament to how like people sign up to workshops because they're like, oh, I need to learn this business skill or like this thing or that thing, but like I think that the relationships that come out of the workshops are like perhaps the greatest part of them, which is
for
weird,
sure, especially if you haven't been to one, or if you haven't been to like one of the larger scale ones. Because I don't know, there's a balance to be struck for sure, because I've been to some since that weren't worth the price. That you're there and you're like, I've heard this story before. You're just telling me to find my vision. You're just kind of, I'm just paying to kind of like be here with the greats, and that's fine. But there's definitely a balance between like the one we spoke with Heather Joe the other day from Midwest Gathering, which is a Detroit-based workshop that kind of had that like heck yeah vibe. That one was a really good balance. I mean, I definitely learned quite a bit, but I think more than that, it just drew like just really good, kind people in, and I felt like I met some like amazing human beings at that one.
It has like, I feel like it's like this like college vibe almost when you go to the big ones where you're like you know that first week of college, if any of you guys went to college or like even just like high school, that first week where you're in this huge group of people, you don't know each other and you're from all over and you're like all living together for a week and you're just like and you like make friends naturally just out of like survival mode. So I don't know,
I'm like, can I sit by you please?
It's kind of like, it reminds me of like the first couple weeks of being like freshman year of college and like not knowing anybody and then being forced to make really good friends.
Basically just summer camp, right?
Yeah, it's like summer camp and then you're friends for life afterwards. So
yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Anyways.
So let's dive right in. I'm gonna switch. I always do this. I'm gonna switch back over to kind of like for the recording. I'm gonna switch back over to kind of like single person mode, and I'm gonna mute everybody else except for the two of us. If anybody has any questions, you're welcome to unmute you. The only reason I'm muting is just so that we that the software kind of grabs us individually, so it kind of naturally bounces back and forth for our conversation. But don't hesitate to jump in and have any questions if you have anything. So hypothetically, it's just us now, Katie. Hello, Katie.
Hypothetically. Hello.
What's that? What'd you say?
I said hello.
Hello.
I'm still looking at it in gallery view, so I'm like, I can still see it.
Perfect. Oh, wait, one more gallery thing. I have two things I want to talk about before we jump into like conversation. I'm gonna unmute everybody.
Hardcore.
Except for Hunter. He was already muted. I'm gonna leave you muted, buddy. Okay. First of all, I hate Facebook notifications. I hate it. I reconnected my Facebook account to my Instagram account on like in the software, like through the accounts. And I'm now getting 3 notifications on my phone every single time somebody messages me
Oh my gosh.
on Instagram for one of my accounts, for one of them, because
Wow.
it sends me an Instagram notification, and then it sends me a Facebook Messenger notification from Instagram, and then it repeats that one for no reason.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's just awful.
Really
So if
quickly,
anybody
I'm
has,
sharing,
go ahead, sorry.
I said really quickly, I'm sharing this with my Oregon photographer group because I forgot to post it in there, and I'm gonna do that really fast. I'm
Love
so
it.
sorry. Hold on.
No worries.
Um,
The other thing was I was talking with somebody on Instagram like an hour ago, and we were brainstorming. I feel like it would be really fun to try to do like a photo club paired, matched up like FaceTime portraits. I know those are a thing right now, and I'm like super intimidated by them. And
oh,
I'm just curious if, first of all, have you guys seen this? I'm assuming this is kind
Yes,
of like
and I've
going
done
around
them.
everywhere. Say again, City.
I said yes, and I've done them.
How was it?
It's awkward.
Really?
I mean, it's not super awkward. It's just you have to explain things a lot more than what you normally do when you post people, because you're just kind of like, you can't touch them. You can't, like show them really,
Yeah.
Plus you're talking through like your phone or like on your computer. So it's like kind of weird.
And you also have to like instruct them where to put the camera, right?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. I feel like for me, that feels like it would be the hardest part. It'd be like,
yeah.
Usually if they have like a windowsill, that's like your best bet.
right.
Because then you get that good natural light too. And they can kind of balance the phone, and it's more like face height for a lot of people. But yeah, it gets really weird when you do like living room. It's like stack a bunch of books or DVDs or whatever else you got. Like, it's kind of just, you make it work, and it's weird, but you make it fun.
For sure. And then because it's just screenshots of your phone. There's not really any like expectation for them being incredible, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I did mine on my computer the last time I did it, just through Zoom, and that wasn't too bad. Obviously, like, you could not print these pictures whatsoever.
No, they're just screenshots.
Garbage, but
I've seen some pretty decently edited photos. Like I've seen people like make some pretty beautiful things. Which is why it's intimidating, because it's almost like when Instagram stories first came out and everybody's like, these are garbage. You don't have to do anything good here. And now you have to do like a good job on your Instagram story.
Do you though? Do you?
Kind of, right? Oh, yeah, I guess.
I challenge this. I challenge it.
Okay, explain.
I don't know. I feel like I love the like realness of people who don't give so many like. Am I allowed to swear on here?
Yes. Yeah. Come on. Okay.
About their like about how that comes across. Like, I mean, I love them when they're pretty and everything, but I like really appreciate like a real, like very real, like not giving a shit approach to when people are posting. I feel like mine are definitely trending towards like, sometimes I try, but most of the time I'm like, funny, like quick caption. I didn't try that hard.
I definitely went through a phase where I enjoyed doing like the whole unfold thing and like having like, well, it's too much work. It's just too much work, and I refuse.
I feel like that takes away, personally, I feel like it takes away from the whole like beauty of Instagram stories, because they're such like a Snapchat-esque like realness of your life, and then when you make them so
100%.
perfect, like I am bored. I don't care as much. Like,
for sure,
boring. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Then, I guess I really do enjoy seeing real parts of real people's lives, and I don't necessarily want to like follow every single person's like photo page and their private page just to see kind of like part of their real life. That's a good point. That's a good point.
I don't know.
Interesting.
But
interesting. So we have some new people. Hi, people. You don't have to say hi back. It's okay. All right. Let's just kind of dive in then for realsies this time. I have no more notes about things to talk about beforehand. All right. Oh, I gotta remute y'all. Mute. Katie, can you
Oh,
say something?
Rachel says hi. She came from
Hi,
my
Rachel.
Oregon group. Hi, Rachel.
Welcome from Michigan. Yeah, the chat's down there. If you guys have any questions, you can also dump them into the chat. Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm great.
How's Oregon right now?
It's like 75 degrees and sunny today.
Stop. I'm ending this meeting right now.
I know. I don't know how to mute my notifications. I don't even know. How do I do that?
How did you do what?
Nothing. I'm just being silly.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful day it's a beautiful day here.
It's like 40 here. It's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. We also chose to live here.
Yes.
So
but also the pollen, like Portland and like the Willamette Valley has some of the worst pollen ever in the world generally, because we're like the grass seed capital of the world. So like spring allergies are like, they will wreck you. And it is currently just like, you can see it in the air.
Oh man.
So I'm like,
I didn't have allergies forever, and then all of a sudden, like 2 or 3 years ago, it was just like slap in the face during allergy season.
oh yeah.
Nowhere. So talk to me about can you kind of just, I know you talked about yourself being a photographer based in Portland, you do a lot of stuff with portraits, but can you talk a little bit about like maybe your take on photography? Like, why do you like shooting human beings? Why do you like shooting couples? Essentially, like what brings you into like this like photo world?
Yeah. I guess clarification, are you talking more like why I give a shit, like why I care, like my why, or like how I got started?
Yes.
Which one? You just said
Either.
yes.
Both. Just jump. Yes, both of them.
Both of them. Okay, so those are two different things. Like I got started really quickly, quick background. I got started when I was in high school. Like one of those classic grandfather gave me a digital camera type of thing. My grandpa is a boss. He's 103. He knows how to use Photoshop.
Whoa.
He has a Twitter. He's awesome. Anyways,
Do we need to follow your grandpa?
yeah, I don't know if he actually uses his Twitter, but he has one and he has a Facebook. I'm very impressed.
That's incredible.
Anyways, they were like a really hardcore photography phase like most of his life, and he just like loved buying cameras, so he just gave me one of his like old Olympus cameras. Anyways, I got really into the Flickr life. I was a Flickr girl back in the day, pre Instagram. And that gave me like a shit ton of confidence in posting my very terrible self-portraits and embarrassing selective coloring. This is all circa like 2005. Just, you know, where photography was at the time. And then I was doing that, and so I started shooting all the people in my life, and I was still like on track wanting to be a doctor. So I like wanted to go major in biology and do all that stuff in college.
Oh,
and
I did not know that about you.
yeah, I like really like the science side of things. I was like, science, yes, doctors, helping people. And then I was also really into journalism, and I loved writing, which is still like I still love writing. So I was like working for my paper in high school, and then when I went to college, I joined my college paper. And then I quickly realized that I was really, really bad at chemistry in college. And I decided to do a little pivot and was like, just kidding, I'm not gonna pre-med anymore. And I like went the kind of journalism / like new media communications, which is basically like Facebook as a degree, route. And then I became my editor-in-chief of my college newspaper by some crazy fluke of life when I was like a sophomore.
Wow.
So I was like 19, and I think I was 19. I was 19. I like ran this paper. It was like a daily newspaper, and I had like 70 employees, and I had to hire people and fire people, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and it was so stressful. I was working like these like crazy 60-hour weeks trying to put out this like college paper while like taking classes, and I was like doing a bunch of photography stuff on the side, and loving it, and I had continued to love it, and I had continued to like keep doing it all the time, but I was just like, not like, you can't do that, that's not like a real job. And so I did the year of the editor thing, and then after that I was like, this is really not for me. Like I really am not feeling these vibes, and I ended my year term as editor, and then I just kind of hit a wall where I was like, if I can run a paper, I feel like I can run a business.
That's awesome.
And so that was the point where I like just poured like all my resources, all my time into like starting a photography business. This is like 2008, 2009, like during the middle of the recession.
Yep.
And so I started my business then when I was 20. And then by the time I graduated college, I just like was able to, I had gathered enough gear and like networked with enough people at school, and like I had met a mentor who had like started showing me how to shoot weddings, and I pretty much had a full-time job when I left college, and so I've been full-time ever since then, which is
Oh, that's incredible. I love that you have these two like encouragement moments, or like maybe overconfident moments with like the Flickr groups teaching you that like, yes, I
oh
can
yeah,
put my stuff out there and people will see it. And then you know, baby Katy being like, oh man, I can totally run this business because I ran this newspaper, which you obviously can. I mean, you
yeah,
did. Looking back now, it totally was a worthwhile jump. But those are some like bold moves, both of them.
yeah,
I have not so much an actual hang up, but I have like an intellectual hang up frequently on how bold it is that any of us have decided that like, I made this thing with a camera and I think it's good enough that everybody else should look at it. And I think that
yeah.
I think if I dig in too far on that, I'll probably stop posting things on the internet, because I like my work, and I think a lot of people like my work, and I kind of don't want to look too closely at that at some point, because I think it's a bold thing to say, this is art, it is subjective, but I've deemed it good enough. Man, that's confidence.
Yeah, it's really vulnerable. Like what we do is super vulnerable. Just being an artist or running a business is like you're just putting yourself out there constantly, and you're like, hope they like it.
Yeah.
And there's so much like social proof these days. I don't know. It's hard. But yeah,
That's also partially like, ironically, why we're all allowed to like continue having a career, right? Because we are being vulnerable and saying like, this is our work, and so our clients want to be able to like do that same thing and say like, these are pictures of me, here's my
yeah,
vulnerability like laid on display. And if we again dig in too deep, and this metaphor will fall apart, but there definitely is something to the idea that it's like touched up and in the right light, and they hired somebody who knows what they're doing, so their photos look beautiful. But there is definitely like a vulnerability to social media that is pretty fascinating, because I don't think it's the intended kind of like a value proposition of social media. It's supposed to be like, look at me, look how incredible I am. But there's an intense vulnerability there, and I think that's kind of beautiful. I have not really thought about that.
I don't know. It's like a like dichotomy between like being self-absorbed and being vulnerable. Like,
Yeah.
playing with that line, right?
Right, but that line is also like the thing that I've talked about a lot, like the confidence versus arrogance
Yeah.
line, which is, you know, at what point when somebody says, oh my God, I've been following you for 5 years, I love your work, you're incredible. At what point do you go, oh, come on, me? I no. And what's the point do you go, oh, thank you, I appreciate that. I work really hard. Yes, I definitely do that.
Thanks for
But
Rachel's giving us a good good comments. I love it. It's hard. I don't know.
It's hard.
I
It's
like
hard, but for me, it's
that.
not though, right? Like I dig into it, and all of a sudden, it becomes like just my life. Like I don't know what I would do if I'm not like making things and sharing with people.
Yeah, I feel like the other side of this that I've been exploring with my therapist recently is like the fear of disappointing people as well. Like,
Mm,
especially as a photographer and even as an artist in general, like you're creating this thing that like you're so vulnerable in making if I mean photography is vulnerable on both sides. We just explained that. But
mhm.
yeah, you're creating this beautiful thing and then you're giving it out and like hoping they're gonna like it. And it's like there's so much like crushing fear of disappointing people that's like a huge factor for me and that I'm like currently struggling with. I feel like especially during this weird self-isolation time where like all we really have is like what we put out on the internet right now. So
For
it's like
sure.
I feel extra afraid of like disappointing everybody. But I guess that goes in hand with being vulnerable, I suppose. So
Yeah, my vulnerability. That's interesting, because I don't know why. I almost don't care if people like it's like I don't know. This is just like straight off the dome. I don't know if this is true. I'm just gonna say it. I don't know if I care if people like the thing that I make. And of course that's wrong, because I want my clients to be happy, and I like it when people hit that little double tap that button, and they give me those likes. But it's almost like the thing that drives me almost more is this idea that I know that I have this intense fear of not being like initially good at something.
Mm-hmm.
And the second, like I was talking about this with somebody recently. I've been talking with too many photographers. Um, I have an aversion to like jumping into something new. And if I jump into something new and I'm not immediately good at it, I kind of don't want to keep going. But everything that I've ever done that's been good, I have like had to dig through that level of like, I'm currently not good at this, but I hope I will be someday, and get
Yeah.
out to the other side and then eventually like be good at it. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. Totally makes sense.
The other thing that I wrote down about kind of your writing or your talking for your backstory was you and I both started a business in a recession.
Mm-hmm.
And part of like the origin story that I have for our business, the thing that I've talked about ad nauseum to anybody that will listen, is that we started this business out of complete necessity when there were no jobs in our small northern Michigan town, and
Mm-hmm.
we were just getting out of college and we didn't really want to move yet. And so Brooke was trying to find a teaching job, and I just like threw a website together, kind of pre Instagram, pre SEO, or pre SEO, like blowing up into like a big business model.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a crappy camera and a kit lens and like one other, I don't even know what it was, some cheap Canon glass, and called myself a photographer. And I just wonder like what is being done right in this moment here that is that same exact story again, because like this is this like weird, scary, uncomfortable time, but there's so much like weird opportunity right now
Oh
because
yeah.
people are like stuck in, I mean, you're going back to your paintings again, right? Like I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
like stopped doing that, but I love what you've been working on.
Oh, thanks. It's yeah, I mean I didn't stop, but it would be like I would paint a little bit and then I would not paint for like 6 months. And then I would paint a little bit and then not paint for 6 months. And now I'm
For
like
sure.
spending 4 hours a day painting because people are buying
Wow.
my paintings and it's like helping support me right now. And
That's
so
so
I'm
good.
like, how am I okay, like you know when you first start in photography, like your very beginning and you first are like, okay, $50 for a senior session and you're like,
Yep.
somebody buy this thing and people pay for like your cheapest first offering, like when people just first start paying you for photography, that like gleeful feeling where you're like, holy shit, are people paying me for this right
Yeah.
now? Like, how am I making money doing what I love? That's literally like me getting these bird orders every day. I'm
Yep.
like, I'm making money doing this? What?
Yep. And of course by making money doing what I love, I don't know about you, but for me, that story was, I remember getting a check, and I don't remember how much it was, but it was not very much. It was like
Yeah.
$25, $50, and going, I'm a professional photographer. I am in
Yes.
business. And then I went to, oh my God, I totally forgot. I went to cash that check, and I hadn't set up a DBA. And so
Oh
it was
no.
written out to our company, and that didn't exist. So they shredded it.
Oh.
Yeah, the ATM just automatically shredded it. And I had to go back to the client and be like, I wasn't set up right. Could you make me a new check?
Oh
Yeah,
no.
it's a very sad story.
That's funny.
But it's very telling of like the early times.
Oh yeah. I think that you were asking me, like you asked me like how I got started and I explained that, but I
Yep.
didn't explain the whole why side of things. So I thought I would
But
talk about that. I feel like I've been it's hard. Like when I first started my business, I was really passionate about, oh my gosh, is my friend Michelle in here? Oh my gosh.
hi,
Michelle is
Michelle.
Michelle is joining us. Michelle is not a photographer, but she is a small baking and just company. And so she's
Ooh,
also like small business in Bend, Oregon. So I love
I
that
love
she's
it.
randomly hopping in right now. What was I gonna say?
Why? Your
Oh,
why?
why? Yeah. Like I first started my business, I wanted to be a fashion photographer. I was really into like making super weird stuff and like just the weirdest images. And this is like 2008 time. And I was really into the weirdest things I could find.
Yeah.
And like wanting to move to France and be a fashion photographer and all this dumb shit. No hating on that. But, and then I like had this friend growing up whose dad is a commercial photographer. He like shot Michael Jordan and like all these people. He was really
Oh,
legit.
wow.
And he like kind of was a mentor for me for a long time. And I had known him since I was like 5. And the more I talked to him about the commercial side of things, the more I was like, oh, this is like really not well suited for my personality type. Like I love spontaneity and I do not like, I mean, I like planning to the extent that I like having like thinking on my feet and like doing kind of things, like having control in the situation, being able to do what I want. And the more I was learning about fashion photography and like commercial world and like how much pre-prepping is required and like working with
Right.
models and sets and everything, I was like, that does not sound fun. I do not like this. And so getting into weddings and like actually like I feel like my initial attitude was like scorn towards that type of photography when I was starting out, which I think a lot of freaking people have, and that sucks because they feel so many people in the world like look down on wedding photographers as like, oh, you're not good enough to be a commercial photographer or something like that. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced like that as
I think that sentiment is a little bit evaporating.
I think it is. I think it's getting a little better.
You and I got started pretty much at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And I think what happened is like, admittedly, I think Flickr, those like what is now looks like film, one of the bigger Facebook groups on the planet, started out as a group on Flickr that was like, let's shoot photography that looks like film but is digital. And I think a lot of those people that got in early and like established themselves as like big names, big players, big actors, showed the rest of us that like, well, I guess not just the rest of I'm just going to finish that sentence instead of second guessing myself. I think they showed that this part of the photography industry, you can have like rock stars here, that you can be doing like epic, incredible things. Of course, we've had like backlash to that movement. It means a lot of the people that I know that were like epic globe-trotting photographers have now decided to like rebrand themselves in their home market so that they can like make as much money at home and then like, I don't know, spend that money and go to those places and just be there for fun and travel and not be, on a plane every 40 minutes to go to the other end of the globe. But I think that all comes from that space. And because of that, I used to definitely, I don't want to say downplay that we shot weddings, but I definitely did not lead with like, we are a wedding photography team. And I don't think that you necessarily have to as much as you used to. There's definitely like the cool kids who do like, they're like Instagram photographers or they shoot with like influencers or whatever. But I think it's getting better.
Yeah. So for me, part of my journey was kind of like struggling with this, like I didn't want to like it feeling at first, like the first couple years when I was like, this is like not what I wanted to be. And I don't know, I definitely, like, if I'm being really honest with you, like that's how I felt.
That's an identity problem more than a career problem, right?
I mean, we all have identity problems. It's fine.
100%. That is not a judgment. Let's talk about identity problems.
And so I don't know, my first like 25 weddings, I wasn't really sure about it. And then like, as I started getting like picking up and like, actually like really understanding weddings and learning how to do it and shooting all these people, I feel like I've fallen like more and more and more in love with the process. And like, I think I love my draw. I've been doing this is my 11th year now. I think I love it more now than I ever have.
It's so cool.
Which is super cool because I feel like, I mean, there's obviously periods of like we get burned out at the end of the season, you're tired, you're exhausted, whatever,
sure.
But I still feel like I'm more passionate about my career now than I ever have been. And I think a lot of that has come with just going through my 20s and experiencing a lot of new shit. And like most recently, like I'm gonna be depressing for a second, like last year my best friend, one of my best friends committed suicide in March. And I had just photographed her wedding like 6 months prior to her committing suicide. And that was just like, it was like, I had no idea if she was even depressed. Like it was so out of left field for me. I couldn't even, like, I had never experienced grief on that level. Like I had lost grandparents and like pets, but never like a close friend suddenly. And that, like, especially after shooting her wedding and everything, like it was such a just like, holy shit, like this is life, like like coming to terms with a lot of things. And I think that really like shook me to my core and helped me realize just like how much what I do matters and how much I love working with people and how much community matters, and like so many little things about humanity that I've always cared about but never really thought that deeply about, because I was kind of like existing on this like surface level plane of like pretty photos and things are fun and like I like people and I like my job and I like taking photos. And I feel like going through this like really terrible period of grief where I was just like not functional for a while, like the silver lining that came out of it was me realizing like how much I like really cared about people in my life and how much other people really care about the people in their life, and how photography can like really help translate that. I don't know. It's like, I'm not doing a very good job explaining it.
No, you're
Like
doing great. You're doing perfect. And
yeah. What are you gonna say?
I think one of the things that I talk about a lot is the fact like how powerful photography is. And
yeah.
whether it's you as the creator, you as the photographer experiencing these things, or you giving this gift, like admittedly for money, it's not a true gift, but like it's a gift that you give to your clients of like, this is you realized on film, on digital, on
Yeah.
Instagram or whatever, or on print. One of the things that I like about your work, is that even the way you described like the things that you photograph, like, talk about an identity complex on what we photograph.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody that got started shooting high school seniors, that is like, if wedding photographers like used to be this cool and now they're here, like anything other than weddings, I feel like families, seniors, babies, anything else is like way down here.
Mm-hmm.
I had such a complex on photographing seniors like really early on,
Yeah,
but
same.
I adore it. And another thing that I wrote down about your first kind of like who you are line was how you started by photographing your friends. And I think that is something that Brooke and I both have, that we independently got started because we were just like, the dorks in our friend group who like always had a pocket camera with us, like nothing nice, like a little Sony Cybershot or whatever. And we're just like always the one that was just like I was in people's faces at the Big Boy, because that was the one place that they would allow them to smoke. And I think that there's something really, I'm getting myself sidetracked, but I do believe that there's something really powerful about the way that you've described your work, coming from being originally drawn to like fashion photography, but the work that you do now is very much aligned with your origin in portraiture, which is just like that person who was just like taking pictures with their friends.
Yeah.
But I noticed that with our seniors, that I have, and this is coming back to the actual line of reasoning, I have multiple times had people send me messages after receiving their images, or even just after the photo shoot and having not even seen any images yet, just saying like, I just want to let you know, like I'm going into my senior year and I like suffer from depression, or I've never felt like beautiful in my life, or I deal with like self-image issues, and I love these. Like I have never felt beautiful in my life, and I look at these and I'm like, that's me. And we're really protective. Like we don't like sculpt the form. We don't like do anything other than like really basic like blemish control. Anything that isn't going to be there in 2 weeks, everything else stays.
Yeah.
Unless they no, not even, I was saying unless they want a mole removed, but maybe, I don't know. That's a tricky one. But I think there's something really powerful about photography in that way. And I think that as the content creators, we do get kind of stuck in our heads on like, I hope this photo gets enough likes, or I hope this photo trends well, or helps me, go viral is a really hard word right now, but helps me go viral. But each of our photos can be so powerful to our clients, regardless of whoever sees it other than them.
Yeah. And something that I've been experiencing recently is that in realizing this importance of community and the importance of like what I'm doing on a like bigger scale, like with weddings, and like the importance of the people at the wedding, and like really understanding like I'm really documenting the people, I'm really like caring about this community. Like I feel like as I'm going into every consult with a bride or groom, I'm really focused on how I can help them like boil down the essence of their wedding back to the basics of like, these are the people they love and like why they care about those people, and helping them like come back to that idea. Because I think when you're in that wedding planning mode, it's so easy to get trapped in like the timeline and the stress and the vendors and everything. And like, I love that part of being a photographer, is like the ability to like pull people back to like why they love their partner, and like asking them like deep questions about their families, and like tell me about your family drama, and tell me about these people, and like how your grandparents met. And like there's so many like beautiful interwoven stories, and like as you learn more of those as a wedding photographer, like it like gives people so much joy to like share that, and then think about like how that wedding day is going to come together. And like you can play just such an integral role in people's lives, and like helping their wedding have more meaning and like be a more impactful event instead of just like this really stressful party. And like making sure that like doing that work up front. What?
I just love I love the dichotomy there, the beautiful, heartfelt, emotional, like synthesized down this everything is, or like a really stressful party.
Because like I mean a lot of like, I can't even tell you like how many past weddings I've done where it's been like a really stressful party. My friend Michelle in this chat, like I photographed her wedding, and like she was there, she knows like it was really stressful, but it was like also really fun. And I don't know, I think it's easy to get lost in that, and it's like so great to be able to be that kind of helpful person.
How do you there's two questions here. A, do you often work with planners?
I have some I work with planners probably like 30%, 20 to 25 to 30% of the time.
Okay, we're about the same. And I think there's something interesting there. And the second question is gone. What was the second question? What was the second question? I should have written it down.
It's okay.
Wait, go back to what you repeat, like the last sentence you just said, if you can remember it.
Oh, I can't remember it. About I don't remember.
Does anybody remember what we were talking about?
It's fine.
Yeah, it's probably gone. Let me see my notes. I really did love. Say it again.
Oh, I was gonna ask why you asked about the wedding planner question.
Because I think that there is something really interesting about how, as photographers, even when we have planners, we tend to take on that role. And I think it has something to do about how everything is kind of like centered around the photographs. But my brain is in the back, still trying to find that last conversation. I'm gonna like let it go. What did Cindy say?
It'll come back later. Cindy's agree.
Yep. I just think that your discussion on like really trying to help your couples and really like help them synthesize down to like the most like concentrated family energy, which I wrote that I loved that you just started the sentence by saying the importance of community, and then you were talking about their wedding, and I realized that you meant their little insular community.
Yeah, their community. It's not like
not
and
the photo community, not my friends and family that I get to photograph for fun. Like their individual, like each time you enter a new wedding, you are entering, like you are in their sphere, you're in their bubble.
It's cool.
And for the I'm coming on that conversation. Part of entering that world is like so many of my couples I end up like really close with, even if we don't see each other very often. I can't say like I hang out with my couples all the time, but I keep really close tabs on my people. And I think that that's something like just insanely powerful about this industry, is that there are these little, like we all have our little spheres, our close, nice knit family and friends community, and then you hire like a stranger to come in for like 8 hours and be like, hey, can you hang out with us while we have a wedding?
It's like, I don't know, it's super freaking cool. I think that I started, like, I find a lot of joy just like from, like, you have a camera and you have a scenario and you have lighting and you're trying to make something look really cool, and like you're just thrown into this, like, make something beautiful happen. Like I love that side of it, but I also like, I think I get so much like deep joy from like getting to know people really well and like understanding their stories and like getting to like having this like innate curiosity about their entire friend group and like tell me about the people in your life, like tell me about your family, tell me about the like hard stuff, tell me about the good stuff. Like I think when you like walk into each wedding with this like really excited attitude of all these people being there that you've never met and they're all like so interconnected and there's so many like little interwoven stories that are like going to come up for the first time, or I don't know, it's just this it fascinates me, and I think that like gets me really stoked, and I think that that like empowers me to do a really good job.
How unreal is it that there is one thing that people are willing to spend like a decent amount of money on, and as a creative you get to both be a portrait photographer, like you get to document people's like special day, like the little moments between like grandma and her like great granddaughter, and everybody's dressed up, everybody's having a good time, there's like drinks and good food and music and dance. Like this is, I know I'm just describing a wedding, but if weddings didn't exist, if you take that wedding idea out, or wedding photography didn't exist, and you described all of the different ways that like I would have fun on a Saturday night in the middle of the summer and I get to photograph it, I would be like, and what do I have to pay to go to this thing? But instead, like that's my job. I get to like be paid to go, like I get to go dance, I get to have cake, I get to have like beer, or like very often somebody in the wedding party tries to give me a shot. I don't often pass on that.
Get it.
And I get to like take people away once or twice in like beautiful duds on a beautiful coastline somewhere at sunset, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful coastlines in the country, and I get paid for that. It's unreal.
It's a good time.
It blows my mind.
I think that it's so easy for people to get like slogged down in the wedding industry, by the stress of brides or grooms, by like the stress of just having a lot of weddings, by editing. Like, there's so many things that can bring you down. And it's like, I feel like the photo community can be this like negative little ball of stress where we're all just like bitching to each other. And I think that like pulling out of that and removing yourself a little bit and like just focusing on these actual human beings who are so excited and like getting involved in their communities a little bit, like that's been like my saving grace for not getting burnt out on this and like feeling so excited. And like, especially in this time right now when I like can't shoot weddings and we can't shoot weddings and it's like we miss shooting weddings so bad. Like my phone calls that I'm having with my couples, even when they're rescheduling, even and like my new like 2021 like inquiry calls, I'm like stoked chatting with people right now because I'm like, yes, weddings, I miss it so much.
I know. Seriously. Seriously.
Anyways.
that's part of that talk about like negative energy. That's definitely something that we're striving to do in this community, specifically in the photo club community. The whole intention behind it is like, hey, we love this thing. I don't care if like you just got your camera for the first time. I don't care if you're like a 30-year veteran. I don't care if you love going out and photographing North American ridge-tailed red hawks. That's not a real thing. I don't know birds.
That's not a real thing.
I know it's not, but that's all I know. We're all here because we like doing this, and I will not stand to be a part of a community where people are like hitting each other down. It's just not. It's not valuable. It's not useful for anybody. So I've been very appreciative of the people that we've been drawing in. That it's just like, hey, let's have fun with this thing. Let's not stress about it, even though times are tough, things are chaotic. I like, maybe it's just my like over the top, overly grandiose optimism, but I just love finding the positives in negative times.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So talk to me a little bit about your self-portrait work, because I know that has been something that I don't know if it was around the time we left Heck Yeah Photo Camp, or if it was just like one of the, I don't know about you, but like people that I follow tend to like come in and out of my spheres pretty regularly. And so I just remember seeing at one point after we met that you were going on like a really big like self-portrait like kick. You were just like constantly posting them, and they were always incredible. I'll preface this by saying that one of the things that we've talked about a lot in here, especially during quarantine, especially during an era of like things kind of being like complicated and messy and scary, is new creative activities that can kind of
Mhm.
keep people's minds out of things. So
Yeah.
we've had people talking about like just like bread, like baking bread. We've had people talking about like printmaking. So as somebody who is a wedding photographer, portrait photographer, can you talk a little bit about like your interest in self-portraiture as well?
Yeah. So the self-portraiture, I used to do a lot of it back in the Flickr days. Not very good back then, but it was fun. And then I didn't do it for a very long time. And then I'm trying to remember like how I decided to start doing it, but I was going through a very challenging, it was 2017. It was a very challenging year of my life.
Mhm.
What happened, it's kind of funny. A friend posted a like 52-week photo challenge thing on Facebook that was
Yeah.
like the first week 1 was a self-portrait. And that happened to be the same week that my now husband and I had broken up, and we broke up for 8 months that year, and then we got back together. We got married later on. So it was all happy in the end, but at that time was very tumultuous and bad.
Right.
And so that first week was a self-portrait challenge. So I did the self-portrait and I was feeling very emo, and I posted it, and then everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're doing 52 weeks of self-portraits. I'm so excited." And then I was like,
Oh.
shit, everyone's confused. I was just trying to do this other project. And so it was like an accident. But then everyone was like really excited about it. And then I was like going through all this shit in my life. It was just like fucking chaos. So it just turned into I was like, I guess I'm doing 52 weeks, I guess. And so that's what happened. So I shot like 52 weeks of it. I mean, it wasn't perfect. Like sometimes the weeks were like really 2 weeks, or like 10 days, but on a few of them, like I definitely cheated a little bit and would like set up a photo and I'd be like, I want to be here, I'm doing this thing, and then I'd hand my camera to someone and be like, push the button.
Would you define that as not self-portraiture?
I in my I mean, I was making my own damn rules.
For sure.
I was like, if this person doesn't really know what they're doing and I'm setting up the shot the way I want it, I don't think it's totally fine, and I'm allowing that.
Yeah, I mean,
If
because
they're
at that
like
point,
a photographer, if they're a photographer and they're like taking the photo and they're like doing all these things and they're
yeah,
posing,
for sure.
that's not a self-portrait. But if
I
you're
mean,
like,
because at that point, they're basically just a remote, right? You're like,
yes,
instead of being like this, and then you have the remote in the photo the whole time, or now it's it's an app at this point.
yeah,
Um, but you're just like human being. When I
exactly,
don't look terrible, take it.
yeah. Like I remember that summer I traveled. I had a wedding that summer in England, and I brought my mom with me, and like so I had my mom take like 2 of my self-portraits where we were like at a castle or something.
Got it.
And I was like, "Mom, like stand here. I'm gonna stand here." My mom was just like, "Katie, what are you doing?" Just like so like embarrassed for me. But
That's so interesting
it
because
was fun.
if you had set up like a portrait shoot, or if you had an excuse for like a portrait shoot, I don't think you would have gotten so much, guff from your mom, but because it was like taking a picture of
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
So, coming back to this concept of like photography having power, photography being empowering, you're allowed to take pictures of yourself, right? But why
yeah.
is it as a culture we just decided that it's like vain to be taking selfies?
Yeah, I definitely struggle with that, like where I feel really vain doing it. And I feel like the entire process of me, people are like, explain your process of your self portraits. And I'm like, I pretty much like hate the entire process, and I tell myself I'm gonna do it, and I like the like end result I get. I'm like very
Yeah.
pleased with. Usually, if I post it, I usually like it. But the process is just like using my stupid phone with the like Canon camera app, and like
Yeah.
setting my camera on the dumbest like random like tripod slash whatever I have, like chair table thing, and like usually I like wait till no one's home, and then I just feel a lot of shame like in the process. Which isn't very empowering. I shouldn't say that, but I do like, I'm definitely like embarrassed while I'm taking them. But then like I'm happy because I get like a photo that I really like, and I feel like a lot of photographers feel nervous to share themselves on social media, but I think that your followers and the people who like care about you, they're so curious about the person behind the camera, and they want to
For
see your
sure.
face, and people don't share their faces enough. And so like lately, like after doing that project, I did a little bit more since then. And then like recently I was like, I should start doing this again, because like I started doing like fall Friday introductions, and so I started trying to post like a picture of myself every Friday.
I noticed even in
Yeah.
that sentence, the tone went to, oh, I should probably. There's such like a self dread around like taking pictures of yourself.
It's like,
I get it. I totally get
yeah,
it.
it's complicated. Like I'm like, I like it, but I'm like, I feel vain. But then in the process, it's like a pain in the ass. I like have to be pretty. I have to set my camera up. I have to take photos. I don't know. It's not as like, it's not
Happen
as
to
like,
be pretty.
like I have to. I know it's just vulnerable too, because like
Yeah.
if any, you guys have probably taken photos of yourself before, where you take the photo and you're just like, wow, I look like okay, and then you like get in Photoshop, you're like, wow, those are wrinkles. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I retouch myself. Is that unethical?
Like, does this camera really have to be that high resolution?
I'm like,
Come
we're gonna
on.
add some grain. It's fine. But I don't know.
Small JPEG.
It does like I do really like. I feel like I love portraits. I love taking portraits. I love taking weird artsy portraits with like super moody lighting and like weird little light slivers. And I do like getting to play around with the weird light in my house and wherever I am. Usually it's my house because I feel less shame, so I like usually am in my house. But
Oh man,
I do
I
enjoy
do not
that
have the
aspect of it.
I do not have the self confidence to I mean I've been posting not a ton, but enough pictures of myself. And I definitely don't have the confidence to like stand in front of a coffee shop full of people and be like, the light is great here. Someone take
No,
my picture. Nope, can't do
no.
it. Anything of me is usually in the house or just right here, right in this space.
And I think that's also one of the things. Oh, my husband's like creeping in here.
Hi.
Michael says hi.
Hi.
He says hi. I'm obviously on using headphones, so he can't hear you.
I know. I
He's
can see
going for a
that.
run.
Be
I'm like
safe.
hiding people. It's so nice outside. He's
I
probably
forgot, I
getting a
forgot about the
sunburn.
headphones. Oh, shut up.
Uh,
But okay,
um,
on the point of show your damn face,
yeah, show your damn
especially
face.
now
Show
that
your
I
face.
run an Instagram that is like, aggregating like all the challenges that we do with Photo Club and showcasing like different photographers. I want to see your damn face. I want to see what people look like, because your clients are beautiful, but I want to, as somebody interacting with your brand, I do want to see what you look like. And
Yeah,
I'm not good at this either. Ellen Photography's profile picture is definitely a client, and I'm just realizing it should probably be Ellen and Kent, the two people that are running the business. But
yeah.
yeah, I guess that means we need better pictures of us.
I mean, it doesn't take that. It takes like an hour. It's like,
I
get
know.
cute, find a random spot in your house with good light, like get your stupid camera out, put it on a stupid tripod, figure out how to get the Wi-Fi working, which takes forever every time.
Yep.
Take 20 minutes of photos, like one of them, upload it. It's an hour.
And then use that one photo forever.
Use that one photo. No, do it and repeat as necessary, because you should. I don't know.
I like how step one is get cute.
Get cute.
I'm gonna have to work on that. I'll have to work on that.
I know. Last week, this is way too honest, but last week I was like, it was like 5:00, and I had written on my to-do list, because I'm very to-do list central. Like, I'm going to take a damn self-portrait this week. I'm finally like getting back into this. I had the option to like do my makeup and take a self-portrait, or drive to the local wine shop that has special bottle like tasting sets that you could buy, like a set of 3 bottles, and they have the tasting menu set up for you. And my friends and I were doing a Zoom chat that night, because we have like a little wine club. We were doing a wine club Zoom chat where 2 out of my friends went to the wine shop and actually bought the bottles we were supposed to buy, so we could be drinking them simultaneously and like doing a tasting together. And I didn't do that, and I just did my makeup and took the self-portrait instead.
Priorities.
And I ran out of time, because I was like, I just couldn't bring myself to drive there. It was like just a little too far, but I felt bad. I should have, I don't know. It was an interesting like choice, like wine, self-portrait. I don't, either one of them. Anyways.
Was the portrait worth it? Was it good?
I think they were pretty good. I liked them.
Okay.
The light was good. It was good.
That's all that really matters.
So.
We bought this house it's not big enough. We specifically bought this house because of the lighting in the kitchen and the living room. We have these like big panel windows that take up like all of the walls, and that is literally the only reason we bought this house, and totally worth it. I would do it
Okay.
again.
I want to see a self-portrait of you and Brooke and baby in your kitchen
Okay.
with a good light. I
Okay.
challenge you.
I'll work on it.
You've been challenged.
No
Everyone else here
promises.
wants to see it. Everyone else
I
is like shaking their
know.
head. They're
I
like, yeah,
know.
do it. Like, I want to see a really
I
cute
know.
picture.
I'm seeing a lot of nods. I know.
Okay, if you do this, I will convince Mikhail to pose with me, and I will take a picture of him
Ooh, this is
in our
turning
house
into a
somewhere.
challenge. This is turning into a
It
challenge.
should be like a self-portrait challenge by yourself. It should be a self-portrait challenge with like yourself / whatever creature or other person. Or
Ooh,
if you have none of
it's
those,
like
that's fine too.
quarantine crew
Quarantine crew,
portraits.
like family portrait style.
Yep, but do
But
it
it's cool if
yourself.
it's just you two, because no shame in that. But
Yeah, for sure. Or if you're just home alone because you're quarantined by
Yeah.
yourself, that's also a thing.
yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so we
Yeah.
have two
Okay.
things I want to talk about left. We can do this in either order. It's your call. We can talk about birdies, and do you want to talk about Vietnam?
I mean, yeah, there's not. I mean, it's up. I guess I can talk about it a little bit.
I don't want to go too deep in it, because again we try to keep things a little bit light. Maybe we'll do Vietnam and we'll add on birdies because it's
You
cuter.
sound like it. You're making it sound like I was in the war. It's like,
It does sound like no.
like
You were
you
in
want to talk
Vietnam.
about Vietnam? I'm like, it wasn't that bad. Okay, I've
Good.
healed from that experience. It's all good.
Good. Cool.
Yeah, I'll just talk about that briefly since now you guys are like, the hell is she talking about? So right before this all happened, my husband and I took our belated honeymoon because we just got married last July, and we planned a honeymoon for Vietnam in February, which was like great in theory because obviously in Oregon in February it's like gross as hell and there's no photos to be taken. So we were supposed to, we left on February 27th. It was February 27th to March 12th. Obviously coronavirus was happening, but it wasn't in America really at all. And they hadn't closed any borders, and travel was still very much happening. Ironically, we almost changed our like trip and we're like, oh, we should go to Europe instead. Maybe we should just go to like Italy. Like that would be more safe.
Oh wow.
Luckily we didn't do that. But we went to Vietnam. It was really great. We had a really awesome honeymoon. It was absolutely beautiful. I did a lot of bird watching. We did a lot of jungle hiking. We ate a lot of food. And it was all well and good. We wore masks in public because everyone wears masks, and there was like nobody on our flight over. It was like really empty. It was weird. But on March 9th or 8th, like the day 10 of our trip, we got like inexplicably suddenly quarantined by the lovely communist government of Vietnam in our hotel for like very little explanation of what was currently happening. And then they basically told us we were supposed to be stuck there for 2 entire weeks, and like our flights home were canceled and everyone needed to reach out to the embassy. And it was just like, it was really interesting because this is before coronavirus like hit the US really. And so I was like one of the first people in like my circles of people that were like directly impacted by it. And now it's like so long ago and everything's crazy. It's kind of like, I feel almost silly talking about it, but it was really,
I remember
it was like
watching
a very
you go,
anxiety-ridden experience.
for sure. I remember watching you go through on your Instagram story, and it was just like, I remember like, because you don't really look at the top and see how long ago something was posted. And you're like, oh my God, the epic story of Katy. Oh, she's fine. Oh, she's fine. You're just like tapping through. And it's like, oh, that was fine. Everything's over.
It was like, we like I Instagram story the whole thing from like, my husband tried to go step outside to smoke a cigarette after we found out our cruise got canceled, and we like went downstairs to the hotel, and they like almost tackled us, and they were like, you cannot leave. And we were like, and they're like, well, you have to go back to your room. And then we were like, okay. And then we went back to bed. We were like really confused. And then at midnight they woke us up and they were like, everyone has to leave their rooms. And we all went downstairs, and the whole hotel was like blocked off. There was police, and like there was cordoned off in Hanoi, like on the streets, and everyone had to go outside, and they had these guys with leaf blowers come in and disinfect the entire hotel. And it wasn't until like 2:00 in the morning as we're all standing out there, and like half the hotel people staying at the hotel were all from Europe, and they just ordered wine and they were just drinking on the street. And I was like, these goddamn Europeans, this is hilarious. Like they're just like no fucks. but yeah, so we were like sitting there on the street, like waiting to be able to let back into the hotel. And then they just very casually like, oh yes, by the way, you are now quarantined. And because we think that the hotel was impacted by someone who stayed here with coronavirus like 5 days before we even got there. So it was like, they just told us that, and it was just chaos. And I don't know, I never had like that much anxiety and getting in the next couple of days when they let us free, but then we were like not able to stay at another hotel, and then we were like change our flights, and everything was just insanity, and we weren't sleeping, and we made it back to the States. And of course, like there was like zero questions at that point. Like when we flew back into Seattle, there's like no questions, nothing. When we came
Whoa.
back in,
Seriously?
it was just like, oh yeah, like welcome to America, like great. And I was like, you're not gonna ask me if I've like been around the coronavirus or anything, or okay.
That's wild.
And so yeah, we got home on March 10th, and that was like we went straight from this insane experience of like getting quarantined, but then they changed their mind and let us go, and then like hopping from hotels, and then trying to change our flights and getting home, and like all the stress of that, and then just straight into quarantine, and I have not left since then. So
Wow.
that was like the
That's
start
unreal.
of my coronavirus adventure. It was like in Vietnam.
I keep thinking about how in 5 or 10 years we're all gonna have like, what were you doing when this all happened?
Yeah.
And there's gonna be some incredible stories, but a lot of people are fortunately just gonna be like, I watched like everything on Netflix, and I mean everything on Netflix.
Yeah. The good
It's
thing
unreal.
about that experience for me is that I was so stressed, and I was super stressed and super anxious, and like my anxiety like hit levels I didn't know was humanly possible.
Mhm.
And the day I came back, I was able, like, I ignored all my emails. I've been gone for 2 weeks. I was like, F this, I'm ignoring all my emails from my clients. And I wrote my
Yeah.
like coronavirus response like blog post, and like got it put up on like the March 11th, like before most people had even like formulated responses. And then I sent it out to like every single one of my couples. So that was like a really awesome, I think I was in such a like fear, anxiety, stress place, and I was like, I need to figure this out immediately, because people have
For
no
sure.
idea how crazy this is about to get, because I've been in it already and I know it's going to get crazy.
Yeah.
So that was
That's
like
wild.
that thing that came out of it, which was good.
That's awesome.
Anyways, sorry.
Well, I don't want to say that's awesome, because that's
It wasn't
a little
awesome
bit of a
reality.
reductive way to look at like, hey, this insane quarantine that you went through. But ready for this transition?
Yeah,
Birds.
Okay.
You really like birds.
I really like birds.
End of meeting. Bye.
End of meeting.
So you to be less reductive, you are a birding aficionado. Is that how you say it? A birder? How do you say that?
So yeah, just briefly, I'm a bird watcher. My mom is bird watcher. My grandpa, the 103-year-old dude with the Twitter, he like is really into birds, and orchids. I don't know, a lot of nerdy like hobbies in my family, especially my mom's side.
Love it.
Aunt and uncle are birders. So like I grew up, like my childhood was like driving from Portland to my grandparents' house in the Sierra Nevadas, and like it's an 8-hour drive, and I'd have like a checklist on my lap, and I would like write down every bird and every animal I saw, and then like check how many I saw and like every species, and like had these like big lists. This is when I was like 8. So very nerdy child. Really liked birding. And like for a while I tried to like squelch that down, because I was like, this is not a cool hobby, like this is not cool, like this is not going to get me friends in high school. But I feel like after in college, like I kind of felt like I was like allowed to be cool, I was allowed to admit to my nerdiness. And then yeah, when I was in college for my I was in honors college at Oregon State, and I had to write a thesis, and I like didn't want to write a thesis, even though I like writing. I was still just like not stoked on the whole thesis thing, because it sounded really annoying. I was an art minor, and so I decided to see if the thesis committee would let me paint my thesis. So I decided to ask them if I could paint every species of bird I've ever seen. And so they were like, that seems kind of cool. And I was like, I'm gonna have a gallery thing, and like people will come in and they'll see it and it'll be cool. And so I painted every species of bird I'd ever seen. It was 191 paintings. And it was really interesting and really stressful, and I procrastinated like crazy, because I'm a really bad procrastinator. And so like the last few days before, I was painting like 20 hours a day. But I got them done. And it was a really cool gallery show, and like you walked into the gallery and there was like one row of birds around the entire room, and everyone like goes up to each one of them and was like, what is this? Or I recognize this one, or oh, I know what this is. And
Oh,
it was
that's so
like
fun.
the point of the project was to inspire people to feel like the same way I feel when I'm like outside and I have that innate curiosity about like I want to know what that bird is. And when you walked into this gallery, people were like, I want to know what this bird is, like because it didn't have any labels. So that's like
Just
where
like
that,
in the wild. There's
just like
no
in the
label
wild, like it was a metaphor because art. Yeah, so that's where that project came from. And then I've like in my creative free time, I decided to see if anyone wanted. People have always expressed interest when they see them in my house because I have them like on a wall. And so I decided to start painting them again on a sliding scale during this time period, and people have been buying them, and it's been very fun.
So cool.
So back at the bird
I
painting.
definitely we've talked about this a lot too. I always miss my art school experience, and I feel that part of what I've been striving to build since then is a community of people that I can like walk into a room and say, I have a weird idea for a creative thing. Can we all sit down and like help me figure it out? And that's what like that walking into a gallery and seeing all of the birds lined up in a row, like I miss that in my daily life. And I think that our culture just doesn't put enough importance on like capital A art, like not just Instagram, but actually like going to galleries and whatnot. Katie, do you have a separate Instagram or Facebook for your paintings?
So I do, but I like haven't been using it. So it's mostly just on my main Instagram, because it sucks because it's like when you have like a decent following on one Instagram and then you start a new Instagram and you have nobody, it's like it's kind of crappy. Like so I've just been spamming my poor like general photography people with all the birds, and I'm like sometimes I'm losing followers, but I'm like like they'll be fine. I think maybe they'll accept me for who I am. But yeah, I need to get my act together on that whole thing. Mostly I'm just
or not. I will say this though. I'm just gonna use easy numbers. Let's just say you have like 5,000 people that follow you on Instagram, and they're interested in photography and they follow you for that. Yes, we all have to like fight with the algorithm monster that will say you're not necessarily going to get your people. Not all of those people are going to see the thing that you post. But I do believe that if you just like flood your primary account with, I'm making this new thing. If you're interested, go over here. And then every couple of weeks, you continuously do that thing.
Yeah.
That's what I've done with Photo Club. And I've noticed that, people who have like 80,000 followers, 150,000 followers, 1 million followers can really easily throw together an account that is like, hi, I'm now doing this other thing over here.
Yeah.
And a percentage is going to go over.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as big, but you're definitely like, if you put in the work, the right people will follow over.
Fair.
So
yeah.
As much as I don't think it's a terrible thing to, if you were doing something completely off the wall, completely
Wait, you
different.
sent me I think you said the wrong link, by the way.
Did I do it wrong?
Yeah.
Oh no, I because you said it was mostly on your primary one.
I think, yeah, but that's still not my primary. It's fine.
Is it not?
No.
What is it?
It's Katy Weaver Photography. Wait, I don't want to leave this meeting.
Oh, isn't your brand on Facebook is just at Katy Weaver? That's what it is.
I'll just include it here.
Cool. Yeah, if you decided that in your spare time you're going to be a car mechanic, I don't think you would want to put that on the same Instagram, right?
I mean, I could make that fun.
But I think what's that?
I said, bring it on. No.
I want to see that succeed. But I think the fact that you're doing something that is so core to who you are and your people like you because of who you are, I don't think it's so terrible to have them connected. But I guess basically what I'm saying is you can't really go wrong. Either way will succeed, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think that yeah, Hunter, nice. I was like, I feel like you could give me that as a challenge and I would be like, let's go, let's do it.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like my general attitude towards life right now has been like, all right, we've got like a huge wrench that's been thrown into everything. Let's like see what we can come up with that is creative and different, and
I agree.
see what can happen. Like, been, I don't know, it's kind of terrifying and horrible and fun all at once.
I know, and I have to like check myself on this. I said this so many times in here. I have to check myself on this language constantly, but I really do see like beautiful things coming out of this. And I know that it is harming people's families, it is harming people's businesses, it is harming people's like quality of life. And so I don't want to diminish that pain, but I do want to find kind of the positives in here and try to find ways that as a creative community we can support each other, be with each other, just grow from this. Like we talked about in the beginning, we both started a business in a recession, so I'm just really curious to see what comes out of this at the end.
Yeah,
Some good stuff will, for sure.
it's gonna be, I mean, you can be hopeful, and hope is a good, like, I think hope is a good attitude to have, because it implies that things are not maybe not perfect, and that you're looking forward to things being better.
For sure.
And like, I don't know, I feel hopeful. So
For sure.
that's a good attitude. But
Katie, is there anything else you want to chat about before I usually end by kind of opening it back up to the grid and see if anybody has any like big questions or has anything else they want to talk about for a few minutes? But is there anything you want to talk about or anything you want to plug other than Katie Draws Birds?
I don't think so. I'm like literally such an open book, so you guys can ask me anything. I don't care. But I don't have any, like, I don't think I have any other specific plugs
Cool.
right now.
Does anybody have any questions they want to, anything they want to talk about, any questions for Katie or anything like that? You don't have to. We talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we covered a lot of shit. It's cool.
All right, guys. Unless there's anything else, I'm good. Katie, you good?
I'm good. Yeah.
All right.
Great day.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
I'll throw this up on the YouTube account when it goes live, and feel free to share it around. Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
We didn't talk about ramen, but I did watch a thing about the Szechuan noodle ramen that we had, comparing it to a new one. There's one in LA that uses a different type of peppercorn that instead of having a like metallic backed numbness, it has a citric backed numbness.
Interesting.
So we'll have to all go to LA and eat ramen.
Yes, things to look forward to. Perfect.
Rachel says you're amazing.
Oh, thanks, Rachel.
Is that wrong? All right, guys.
Okay.
Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.